For those who speak Gikuyu, I had done videos on substance abuse in Gikuyu in this channel. So if you would want to understand more and speak the language of Gikuyu, you can refer to those videos of substance abuse, which I labeled as dawa cia kulevya. In this program, I'm going to look at substance use disorders, the chemistry of maladaptive coping. And as I always say, these videos are made under the program Ogewe Berea Hinya, or knowledge is beyond strength. So if you seek knowledge, if you want to understand, if you seek understanding and you are well informed, you will make the right decisions. Therefore, under this short video, I'm going to explain how substance abuse affects our behavior and why we take them. Substance abuse disorders, the chemistry of maladaptive coping. Substance abuse is rarely a problem of poor willpower, neither is it an issue of peer pressure. It is a complex neurobiological driven response to pain. When individuals are subjected to unbearable psychological tension without access to structural or clinical relief, they turn to external chemical agents to artificially regulate their nervous systems. And these substances now come in a variety of forms, some of which as parents we may not be able to tell. They come in form of gummies, chewable gummies. They come in form of chocolates. They come in form of sweets and candy. So in this case, the industry has become very sophisticated, and it is difficult for us as parents sometimes to tell when or what our child is consuming, whether it's substance abuse. So, the common variations of substance abuse. Alcohol. Alcohol is a very popular, widely used substance abuse. It is a sedative and it is taken by many people. Many people argue that when you drink, you interact with friends, you create friends, and you make business. But the reality of the matter is when you are drinking alcohol, you are not making friends, neither are you making any form of business. You are just sedating yourself and dulling your brain. So, what is the psychological survival strategy of alcohol on you? The psychological survival strategy on an individual involves the chemical numbing of the acute terror of financial ruin, social isolation, and existential dread. When you don't want to face reality, when you feel pain due to finances, or you are in acute anxiety because you are being auctioned, the way to numb your brain from the racing thoughts is to take alcohol, which will put you to sleep. So in this case, you are taking alcohol as a survival strategy rather than an entertainment strategy. The next substance abuse, which I had also covered in Gikuyu, is prescription drugs. These prescription drugs are often taken as pain relievers and include drugs like Tramadol. And their psychological survival involves translating both intense physical labor pain and psychological exhaustion into a temporary state of artificial safety. So when you have taken Tramadol, you feel the pain is reduced and you are in a state of feeling secure and you are in a state of stability. And once Tramadol has been absorbed and has exited your body, you find you desire more and you become addicted. Therefore, one should avoid these prescription drugs like Tramadol because they'll become addictive and they'll be part of your substance disorders. The other form of substance abuse is cocaine and cat. We all know about the chewing of mirror, which people argue that it's a cash crop for a certain region, and whenever proposals are made to control it, people argue that the economy is being threatened, and they feel that their community is being killed economically. But there is a lot of damage that cat does to the body and forms part of substance disorder when used repeatedly. And as I had mentioned in the Gikuyu video, people who work for long hours, like touts and matatu drivers, and people in Kware or in Mujego, they are likely to abuse these drugs so that their energy can be enhanced and they can carry heavy boulders to load into trucks. So, what does cocaine and cat do to the body? It artificially induces energy. One has excessive energy and can do extraordinary things that one without them cannot do. They also create alertness and confidence to endure grueling work hours and hyper-competitive environments. So in this case, you find that people who want to be overproductive, people who want to do heavy manual work, people who are compelled to clock in long hours will medically induce themselves with cocaine or cat, but little do they know that they are creating a substance disorder in themselves. The next substance use that causes substance disorder is marijuana. And again, I also covered it in the Gikuyu video. And what marijuana does, it offers escape from chronic overthinking. It stops insomnia and hypervigilance induced by unpredictable environment. So when you are under the influence of marijuana, you don't think, you can sleep, and you are calm and composed from hyper activities. But little do we know that this repeated use of marijuana creates substance disorder in ourselves. So, when an economy collapses or state oppression intensifies, substance abuse rates inevitably rocket. This is what research has shown elsewhere. The addiction is not an isolated moral failure or peer pressure. It is an explicit index of a community's unmitigated suffering, punishing the individual user while leaving the underlying socioeconomic despair unchanged is both clinically useless and ethically indefensible. So we need to address the unemployment issues. We need to come up with cooperatives. We need to come up with jobs. We need to come up with ways that our youth can be engaged so that they won't turn to medicate themselves to hide their pain through chemicals such as alcohol, prescription drugs, cat or cocaine or marijuana. So let's think critically that substance abuse can only be stopped if we address regulated working hours, for example, for the matatu transporters, regulated working hours for Mjengo people, for Kware people, and majority of the people in the informal sector so that they don't have to overwork themselves, the mukokoteni drivers, so that they don't have to use the substance abuse. Because when they do this substance abuse, they'll also not be able to use their earnings properly. So to deal with these problems, let us address our economy, let us address our state oppression, and let us address our injustices. In fact, some of the things we are seeing being done in our countries, which are so inhuman, individuals who are not under substance abuse cannot do them. Individuals without substance disorders cannot do them. For example, the skinning of someone alive, the pouring of acid on someone or petrol, and they are screaming. This is not normal behavior. It shows we lack compassion. It shows we lack empathy. It shows we lack humanity. And the only way we can restore humanity is bringing hope, restoring our economy, and reducing state oppression. So I would urge you to go back to my Gikuyu videos where I dealt with substance and abuse and see how you can enrich yourself with this additional information. I'm happy that you have listened to me, and I always enjoy when sharing my knowledge at the Ugewe Bereahinya. Let's be happy together, share knowledge, and have a sober society for prosperity and for posterity. Because when we don't have sober individuals, even having future generations is jeopardized because those dens are not useful. And I'll conclude by saying that there's one image that touched me. I saw a mother holding her son who had maybe come from an alcohol den or a substance abuse den in the morning, and she was clinging to his son, who was, of course, tall and heavier than her, and holding her with motherly love. Let's spare our mothers from this pain and address the issues of economy, and also address the issue of those who trade with these drugs and subject our children to these substance disorders. Thank you and enjoy yourselves.